You guys, I got to tell you the story of how this project has come together. My buddy Jonathan Hughes and I, we've been talking about putting these songs together for a long time now. And at one point we were just trying to see, well, let's look at different options. How do you go about making a record now? It's been a bunch of years since I last made a record, and things change so quickly in music now. I'm like, how should we do this? What's the best way to do this? And at one point I'm praying, I'm like, God, what do we do? How do we approach this? And I felt like the Lord told me to call Rami. Rami is this guy who I met like 15 years ago or something when I recorded a demo in LA. I'm like, I don't even know if I know how to get a hold of this guy. I don't even know if he would remember me. But I look in my computer and there's a number. I call the number and he answers, "Hey man, what's up?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't even know if you remember me." He's like, "Oh, of course I remember you." I'm like, "Well, I want to do this project and I feel like God just told me to call you. And I want to make a worship record. And I just am wondering, like, do you have anything to say about that?" Rami's like, "Man, that's so interesting that you're saying this, because back when we met, I was doing something different, like touring and doing rock star awesome things. But 7 years ago, God did something different in my heart and kind of got a hold of me in a new way and led me into this space where, like, I realized I love pastoring people, I love coming alongside people, and I actually became a worship pastor. 2 years ago, I actually ended up stopping that and starting this new kind of ministry, artistic, coming alongside creatives in life space and doing this recording studio and making records and actually helping to give birth to things like exactly what you're talking about. I'm like, oh my gosh, God just told me to talk to this guy and look at what he's been doing. And so I'm super excited. Rami's like, "Well, what's this project about?" I go, "Well, this project is kind of coming for me out of a new space. God's been doing something new with me these last few years. I was ordained as an Anglican priest. I was being exposed to worshiping God in these new and kind of beautiful historical ways through liturgy and sacraments. And so there were these texts that I was kind of worshiping with, and as I gave myself to doing these things, I started being formed by them, and then the formation that was happening in me was giving birth to new music that was coming out, new ways of even for me writing songs and writing lyrics. And so I have this music that's kind of meant to serve the liturgical context, and I know that's kind of weird, but what do you think of that?" He goes, "Man, that's so crazy that you say that, because I don't know if you remember, I was born in Egypt into like the Coptic Orthodox Church, and I grew up with liturgy, and I totally get that." Even as we were talking, he's like, the kind of that idea of braiding this music and the liturgy together is something that makes total sense to me. And we got to come together. We got to get together, and you got to come out here to Austin and make this record. We're going to eat food. We're going to hang out, and somehow along the way, a record's going to get made. Isn't that awesome? We're here on Monday in Austin at this studio called Life Space. It's super cool, run by my buddy Rami, and we're just getting started with this whole week of recording. We've got some songs. We made a list of the songs that we want to tackle this week. And today, what we're doing, we're in this living room area that's been converted to the studio. So what we're doing is just kind of hanging out, getting a little bit more intimate with the songs, looking at the structure of the songs, trying to get together kind of the skeleton of how's this thing going to work once we start actually tracking each of the different parts. And so we're going to be doing that today, and then the songs are going to come together, just be fleshed out, and they're going to be awesome, and we'll get to see it progress throughout the rest of the week. All right, so day 2 here at Life Space, and the producer, Rami Anton, this guy also plays drums, and like I said, he and I played together years ago in LA, but one of the things I love about him is his concern for the sound of things, the sound of the drums. So there's this kit right here, and he's got here like a 19, he wanted, we have a song that's really, lots of space. So Come Holy Ghost is the song, and there's lots of space, and so he wanted drums that would fill some of that space. So he gets like a 19-inch snare, like a 28-inch bass drum, and these things are just like boom, huge sound. Look at this hi-hat. It's like gigantic. I've never seen anything like this, but he constructs these things out of concern for just the sound, and I love that attention to detail. So he's been playing these amazing parts that I can't wait for you to hear. Also, we've been doing guitar parts, and Jacob, who's been playing guitars, he's got all these pedals in his guitar, and he's kind of hunched over, and he's like, let's do one part, and then let's do another one, and then he's got these dials, and he kind of just reminds me of this mad scientist who's kind of like mixing in chemicals and concocting some new sound that you haven't heard before, just creating these things out of nothing, and then let's do another one, and let's layer another one on top of that one, and another one on top of that one, and kind of dialing things in, and it's phenomenal sounding. It's all starting to like shape up. You can kind of get a glimpse of what this record is going to sound like. This recording experience is different than others I've had for a couple reasons. One of them is that we're just eating a ton of food, and that's super fun. I mean, and it sounds like maybe it doesn't have anything to do with the process, but food is this thing that you gather community around. Food is a place where you get to know one another's stories, you hear from each other. And so we've been spending so much time getting to just be together with really good food that would it makes your taste buds dance and sing and breaks things in your mind and reorganize it. It gives you new categories, new like mental furniture to rearrange and go, that is good food. But at the same time, we're having these conversations, getting to know one another as people, and that kind of rubs off. As you get to know somebody, you start to be able to pay attention. This is their story, this is my story. We start listening to one another, and then the music that we're making is attentive music. So the parts then are listening to the other people's parts, knowing where is this music coming from, what's its purpose, and getting to kind of dive into some of those particulars has been super, super rewarding so far, and I love that we get to continue this way. One of the things I love about this album is the community that has gathered around it to make it possible. When there are bills to pay, and I have to make music that's somehow going to make money so that I'm not going to lose a ton of money and like put my family in jeopardy or something, that affects the way you go about making the music. One of the things that I've been feeling as we make this project, because of you guys who have gathered around this with the Kickstarter and the crowdfunding thing, is that it has provided an environment in which I don't have to consider, well, what's going to be appropriate for this marketplace? Or instead what we can do is we can say, what's the music that we have been wanting to make? What was inspired in my heart by the Lord through participating in liturgy and worshiping God and this place where the songs have come from, that kind of pure place where music starts. And it said, now we get to continue with this music, even now in that same kind of pure space, without having to wonder, well, what's a label think about this? Or what's the market gonna think? Also super exciting for me is that my buddy Jonathan Hughes is here. And Jonathan and I have been playing for, 15 years together, and there's a connection. Jonathan and I have been supporting one another and caring for one another in music and as friends for a lot of years. And one of the great things that I'm looking forward to, even this afternoon, is getting to hear him begin doing his tracks. And he gets to record at this piano right here, which is a super cool piano. This thing's like 100 and some years old. It sounds beautiful. And Jonathan, this guy who I deeply love, is going to sit down and play on these songs. And I'm so glad that he's going to have his fingerprints on the music that we're making, because he's been a huge part of just my own journey that would lead to even writing music like this. If I can think of one word that sums up how I feel, the word would be gratitude. I'm thankful for the journey, this kind of historic expression of worship in the liturgy that continues to form me. I'm grateful for the process that God has had me in for my own personal journey. I'm grateful for you guys contributing to the crowdfunding campaign. It's so cool to see music that's meant to be sung by people get its start from a community of people gathering around the music and saying, yes, we want to support this being made. I'm grateful for this week having so many great musicians around and eating so much great food and having such great conversation, all pointing us to worship Jesus. I'm grateful for this experience. I'm grateful for today, even today, the recording process is such a unique thing. We've had many singers coming in, just tons of singers coming in to sing background vocals and some of the group vocals on some of the songs. And I don't know how to describe how cool it is to have something that you have written be listened to enough so that it can be learned, and then have someone else sing your melody. So I've gotten to hear other people sing these songs that really aren't about me and aren't about me singing. They're songs for the church to sing, and what I've gotten to do today is to listen to different voices. Every voice is unique. Every voice has its own timbre, its own sound. Every voice has its own story that's behind it. And all of these voices today have been coming together to sing these songs. That's a completely humbling experience, and I'm really very grateful for it. Thank you guys for being a part of this. Thank you so much. It's been a great week. I look forward to more projects in the future and more singing.